What's up, Danger Noodles? It is me again. So welcome back to Uncanny. I know this is a really late upload. Like 3 weeks late kind of upload. Had an accident at work. I've just been trying to situate. If any of you are familiar with what Goodreads is, it's pretty much this website or an app which you can download, and it is where you can track your reading. You can connect with people who read the same thing, and you can make friends on there. You can connect with authors and look at their books and their profiles and what they're reading and things they recommend. Same thing with people. You can do it with your friends. You can do reading parties, all kinds of wild things. I use that, and I also use Storygraph. And I like Storygraph because Storygraph gives me graphs, and I really like visuals and graphs. And this year I'm trying to tackle the 50 books. I set for myself 50 books, and I am actually pretty much on task. I'm actually reading a 1,000-page book right now. It's the Invincible Compendium. So that's going to count as one book, but it's going to knock out like the majority of my pages that I need read, because in Storygraph I think I have a different amount of pages that I want read. So in Storygraph I have 27 books logged so far. I need to log this book actually, and I need to log that book. But my goal is 15,000 pages. I am behind a little bit. I am halfway through it, but once I finish this book it'll be back on track. So Goodreads is the one I want to talk about, because it's a book website and app. I'm pretty sure Storygraph also has a website, but they're an app that I use. Pretty much what you can do is you can actually enter giveaways. You have to connect your Kindle account, and you have to have a proper mailing address, and so you can do these giveaways. Well, I have won a couple of these giveaways. I need to finish reading like 8 of them, but one of them I did, well, I've already finished 2 of them. I read Miss Butterworth and the Mad Baron, and then I've also read this one, and I'm saving Miss Butterworth for both of my Regency books. Kind of like it's the Bridgerton time period. But this other book that I want to talk about today is called Inked Caffeine. And Inked Caffeine is written by Monique Duclos, and literally the synopsis is not descriptive at all. I would like to preface this with, I read it, dissociated for the rest of the day, like could not focus. We were super switchy after reading it, just because of the last like literally 20 pages of the book. Yeah, it was interesting. And I have my page of notes. So what happened here is the very first beginning intro to it. Let me see. There's 22 chapters. Go to beginning, and literally it opens up with a torture scene, page 4 through page 5. Anyways, it opens up with a torture scene, very beginning, before even chapter 1. You figure out that this is written in first person. Very interesting choice to open up with a torture scene. Definitely got my attention. Very well done. And the description for the synopsis, let me pull up the synopsis for you to hear. So the book description, the synopsis is, I was just your typical Starbucks barista without an interesting bone in my body. I liked to keep my head down and do my best to cruise through life uninterrupted, although my bright red hair made it almost impossible. Things took an interesting turn when I met Jimmy, an artist from the tattoo parlor down the street. Living and working in Hollywood, California, I met a lot of intriguing characters, but no one as intriguing as him. He brought a new light to my life that I didn't know I had, let alone one that I needed. My past wasn't a great one, but I got out and made a new life for myself, and now it felt like my future was looking better with Jimmy in it. I felt like life was finally worth living until everywhere you looked, something was on fire. The screaming was enough to make you go deaf, and the scent of blood made you gag. My body was screaming in pain, and I couldn't stop choking on all the smoke in the air. My lungs felt tight, and when I looked up, I couldn't decide if it was snowing or raining ashes. People were firing guns chaotically, and I had never run so fast in my entire life. Jimmy jumped up to the roof of a parked car, and I was quick to follow, bending over to catch my breath. Now where? I panted. Literally, that is like... That's the synopsis. That's the Goodreads synopsis. I looked on the Amazon synopsis, same thing. Literally, I applied for this on the Goodreads giveaway because it was put as a romance and a LGBT book, and that happens to be right up my alley, LGBT romance, especially together. I would not have bought this book based on the synopsis, and I figured, you know what, I'll try and enter the giveaway, and I got it, and I was super excited. It was the first one I got, the first one I read, and reading it was a whole ride because literally the author knows two phrases: mumbled and face fell. It says the word mumbled like 250 something times in the span of 245 pages. And so that's one problem I have with it. The other problem I have is it says face fell literally 30 times or so in the book. And that's just something that's like, it's annoying and it's redundant, and we could have, you know, there could have been a little bit of a different way to describe this. I understand it's like a motif, a continuity thing, but like literally when I'm sitting there and the word mumbled is on literally every single page, sometimes more than once, it's a little annoying, and so that's a little frustrating. But besides that, I'm gonna go into the plot right now. This is definitely gonna be a spoiler. So pretty much the premise of it at the beginning is it's a coffee shop and a tattoo parlor. Okay, we've got Jimmy and we've got our main guy. I don't remember his name right now, it's not important to me. Our main guy works at the coffee shop and Jimmy works at the tattoo parlor, and Jimmy for some reason likes to sit outside the coffee shop and stare in for a while at the beginning, and then he finally decides to come in and they start having this relationship and friendship and stuff, and it starts off really slow. It's a very slow burn. It's like very well done in that aspect. Come to find out, Coffee Boy is going to go, what is his name? The character's name is Dallas. He meets Jimmy. Jimmy comes and he orders like literally a black coffee, and the dude's working at Starbucks. He's literally working at Starbucks, and he's like, why are you ordering a black coffee at Starbucks? Like, I can literally get you any drink you want. Why are you ordering a black coffee? Super, really weird, like, judgment there, but like, if the man wants a black coffee, that's what the man wants, right? And he comes in every morning, and Dallas gets like really attached to him really quickly, and he gets like mad if he doesn't show up, if he doesn't come over to Starbucks in the morning during his shift. That's kind of weird. That's kind of toxic. Well, of course, I'm looking at the notes. We find out Dallas is going to go visit Jimmy at Jimmy's work, the tattoo parlor. And when he's on the way, he runs into his older brother Aaron, because apparently Aaron is coming. Oh, this is set in LA, by the way. It said Hollywood. No, this is in Los Angeles, City of the Angels, and this is important later on. And what happens is he gets into this altercation with Aaron, and Aaron's like drunk or on drugs or something. He's just not his complete self. And Dallas just like lays down and lets him beat the shit out of him. Like, he's sitting there, like, he gets pushed, he like scrapes up his hands. It's like a really big deal that his hands are scraped up, like talked about a lot in the next 20 pages. And so Jimmy comes out and he's like, hey, you need to fuck off. You need to back off. You need to back off. And so he, you know, he takes care of him. He wraps him up. He gives Dallas a lip piercing, and all kinds of stuff. And murmur, face fell, murmur, face fell. Oh, and there's all this talk about these 5 convicts who escaped prison. It's kind of like mentioned a couple times. It's like, that's an interesting thing to be bringing up. And so a couple days later, they've had their fight and stuff. They fought because Jimmy's like, yo, you're way too attached to me. I have my own life. I can't show up to Starbucks every single fucking morning and buy a Starbucks every morning. And Dallas is sitting there like, well, you should be showing up to order Starbucks every morning. And so they have this argument and they just don't talk for a few days, and then they finally talk to each other again. And you know, they're gonna be friends, and they have a party and stuff that they go to. Well, Dallas goes home and he's on the phone with he's on the phone with Jimmy, and there's a knock on the door, and he's like, oh my god, what's going on here? And he opens the door and his brother's there, and his brother's like, face is all bleeding, and Aaron is like, you gotta help me, they're here, the 5 are here. And for some reason, Dallas just lets him in the apartment. We're gonna ignore the fact that like it's been talked about how he's been abusive his whole life, how he's been, how he just beat him up literally a couple of days prior, and he just lets him in the apartment, which I'm not gonna say that that's not something that happens, because obviously people feel guilty and want to help their abusers sometimes because they feel like they don't have a choice, and like that's a thing. But like, he just lets him in, and Aaron goes and he's like, I'm not here. There's blood on the floor. He locks himself in the bathroom, and Aaron's just sitting there like, what do I do? What do I do? Dallas is like, what do I do? And Jimmy offers to come over, and he's like, no, just don't come over. You're gonna cause an altercation. There's gonna be a problem. A few minutes later, there's a knock on the door, and he opens the door, and there's cops there, and they're like, hey buddy. And he's like, oh fuck. He's like, can I help you? And they're like, is your brother here? And he's like, yeah, he's here, but like, what are you doing here? And they push in, and it turns out that they're strippers. They're people who are not actually cops. They're just dressed as cops, and they did that to get access to his apartment. They see there's blood. His brother comes out of the bathroom with no blood, no prosthetics. He used prosthetics to make himself look beat up. And so Dallas tries to get everyone to leave the apartment, and Aaron starts destroying the apartment, throwing this huge ass party. Also, Dallas has a cat. He has a baby kitten. And Dallas is like, oh no, what do I do? And so he just packs a bag. He puts the cat in the bag after like pretty much saying he's gonna fight these people because they're messing with his cat. And he calls Jimmy, and he's like, hey, can I come and crash? My brother's throwing a party in my apartment. I can't get him out. I don't want to have any problems. They'll be gone in the morning. They're doing drugs. There's people dancing on the table. It's pretty insane. It's super loud. And he's like, yeah, come on over. Here's my address. So he goes and he hangs out with Jimmy for the night. And so they're going back the next morning, right? And also there's this whole like, there's only one bed in the apartment situation that happens, like super cliche. It comes up again, don't worry. Well, he goes back, they're going back the next day, and he's going with him to help, you know, get rid of the people. And they go back, and the building's on fire. And I'm sitting there like, your brother just set your apartment on fire. And he's like, your brother set the apartment on fire. And Dallas is like, my apartment is on fire. And so the cops are sitting there talking with them, and then Dallas sees Aaron, and Aaron's like all tripped out and stuff. So he goes straight up to Aaron, and he decks him, and he's like, you're so awful, you're horrible, I can't believe you burned down my building. And oh yeah, I also left out the part where like he admitted to having him followed. I don't know why Aaron would find the need to hire someone to follow his brother to find his address. Like, that's like off, like really weird. And so like he leaves and stuff, and so of course Jimmy's like, dude, you can stay with me. And he's like, I can't do that, I really can't do that. And he's like, yes you can. He's like, no, I can't do that because I'm in love with you, kind of situation. And so he ends up moving in with him. And there's the one bed situation, so they alternate weeks of who gets the bed. So 1 week Jimmy gets the bed, the next week it's Dallas who gets the bed. Instead of sharing it like weirdos, they were like yeah, we're not gonna sleep next to each other. Well, they end up going to parties and stuff and like kissing and stuff like that. I totally skipped over the hospital arc. Oh yeah, and there is like the cops show up to take Dallas away to go ask him about the fire. Well, what happens is that freaking Jimmy hops in the cop car with him. He's like, no, I'm his roommate. I'm his roommate. I'm going with you. If you have questions for him, you have questions for me. And the cops just let him come along, and they're like sitting there in the interrogation room, and they're like, so how long have you been roommates? And Jimmy goes, oh, we're not roommates. And they're like, you said you guys were roommates. And Dallas is sitting there like, we're going to jail. We're going to jail because you lied to police officers. They're not going to believe anything we say now. And so then it gets all cleared up. They talk about how Dallas has a brother named Aaron, and apparently the cops know who Aaron is. They know who he is. He's like some big bad guy or whatever. And so they're like, okay, yeah, that checks out. We're gonna let you go now. And there's literally no repercussions for like lying to the cops. Like, it's kind of weird. And then after that, he lives with him. There's the bed issue. And so Jimmy one day he's like, I'm not gonna walk you to work. I'm really tired from my shifts yesterday doing tattoos, and like there's no reason for him to walk him anyways. And so he like, you know, Dallas is walking down and he gets jumped and he gets beat up, and guess who it is? It's Aaron. Aaron has a baseball bat. He's got friends. They're jumping him, they're beating him, and like they're walking out, and as they're walking out, Jimmy's running in, and he's like, oh my god, baby, are you okay? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And he takes him to the hospital. Dude has broken ribs, he has a broken leg, he has a broken arm, he has a broken ego. Broski is just down for the count. He can't work, he literally cannot breathe. And he wakes up, his face is all busted up, and he looks over and sees Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, oh my god, I was watching out the window and I saw them jump you from like 30 blocks away. Jimmy's been sitting here watching this boy walk to work every day to make sure he went to work, and when he did not make it to work, he went to go find him. And that is so stalkerish. That is not healthy, but it's good in this situation because he went and rescued him. Yeah, so that's kind of weird. And then there's like this whole scene with like a homophobe after like he's healed and stuff. There's like this whole scene with a homophobe at the beach, and Jimmy starts a fight, and it kind of like shows how Jimmy's kind of violent. And we're not gonna gloss over the fact that they're talking about the 5 again, and they're like, oh, they're coming to Los Angeles, and everyone's like, I really hope they don't come to Los Angeles. Like, why haven't you caught them yet? It's been months. Like, come on, guys. Like, what's going on here? Why are you bringing this up again? And then, but there was like this party thing going on, and there's this friend, and she's a girl, and she's got really bright hair, and she's a good friend of Jimmy's, and she's kind of like his sister. And there's like this very distinct sentence where he's like, where Dallas goes, I could have sworn her eyes were purple, like glowing purple. And like they bring it up again later, and she's like, no, you're just mistaken, they were contacts. But like it was, the fact that it was like pointed out like that, it was kind of really weird. So yeah, that was a thing. And then it just never gets addressed. And so then like they get really drunk one time, and like Jimmy kisses Dallas, and Dallas this whole book has been pining over Jimmy. By the way, he's been pining over him. He's been like in love with him. And like, what does he do? He flips out. He wakes up the next morning, he remembers that they had a kiss, and that was it. They had a kiss and they fell asleep. Nothing happened. And he decides, you know what? I'm gonna run away. I'm gonna run away because my love is requited, and I'm gonna run away, and I'm gonna go live with my manager at Starbucks. He moves in with his manager for a couple days, and Jimmy's sitting there like, I kissed you, I'm sorry. Like, if you didn't want me to kiss you, I'm really sorry about that. Can we just be friends? You left your cat with me. Like, I have all your belongings. If we can figure this out. And Dallas is just like, Dallas is like, no. And so they finally talk to each other, and then they kiss, and then it's implied that they do stuff in bed together. It's implied, but they're like officially dating now, and this is great. This is when the homophobe on the beach thing happens, and it's great. Things are going great, and I'm just sitting here like, awesome, we have 20 pages left. We're gonna have a happy ending. I'm excited. We have 20 pages left and Christmas comes around. Oh my god. They wake up and they're looking outside and they're like, what the hell is going on here? What's going on here? The ground shakes and then a missile flies by the window. In the last 20 pages, a missile flies by and they're sitting there like, oh no, and things are exploding and there's missiles and there's bombs and there's explosions and buildings are crumbling and they're screaming everywhere outside and there's like ash falling from the sky and stuff, and they pack a bag and they book it. They pack a bag, they put the cat in, they get all kinds of stuff. They have time to thing, and like for some reason Dallas is like, wait, we can't leave the Christmas presents behind. And I'm sitting there like, broski, the world is ending and everything's exploding. You think you have time to celebrate this holiday? Really? Really, bud? And so like they sneak out and they're going downstairs and like they're like, we need to go downstairs, we need to go into the basement, you know, like the car garage, the parking garage, underground. While everything's exploding and collapsing, let's just go underground. When we were just talking about how the ground was exploding. So they get downstairs and literally what happens is Jimmy like is going for a car and Dallas notices a guy running up on him and he like moves back and a knife goes flying past his face, and we're like, I'm sitting there like, where did this come from? Why is he throwing knives? What is going on here? And so then Jimmy kind of kills a dude and he takes the bloody knife out and he like shoves it into the like keyhole for the car, and he starts the car and he makes Dallas get in and they're like taking off, and for some reason Jimmy's like handling this pretty well. He's actually doing pretty good. I feel like he'd be like he was like prepared for this kind of situation. So they're like going to the they go to CVS, all kinds of stuff happens. They're like raiding CVS. They're like, for some reason somebody's working a shift at CVS. Like the dude's like got a shotgun and he's like, take this and you can leave. He just doesn't leave his post at CVS, and it's like, why aren't you trying to go somewhere safe? Everything's exploding. We find out it's the Five, the people they've been like the whole time they've been talking about, like, oh, the Five, the bad Five, the people who are like escaped convicts. And the escaped convicts, literally they have a whole speech and everything, and their whole thing is that they want to destroy Los Angeles, the city of angels, because that's where they got arrested, was in Los Angeles. So naturally they've got to kill the entire city. Where did they get access to missiles? Where did they get access to missiles? And then their whole thing is they're gonna go through the whole city, building by building, and kill everyone. And I'm like, do you know how big Los Angeles is? Do you know how many sectors there is? Like, do you know how many blocks there are? Like, you literally cannot do that feasibly. Oh, but they can. Or but they can, because they do. They do it the whole time. And then it gets, oh my god, it gets worse, because then like there's a little kid and Dallas saves the little kid and hands him to the mom, and the mom decks him because she thinks he's trying to steal her kid, and it totally makes sense in the situation. But then the mom and the kid die literally on that same page. And like there's no trigger warnings or anything written down, and like there's maybe like 3 reviews on this book, by the way, so I was going in blind, okay? And this is all in the last 20 minutes. And like, so they go back to the tattoo parlor with the friend who has colorful hair and the glowing eyes, and like literally she gets kidnapped and they're hiding in a closet, and for some reason they don't get caught, and it's kind of funny that they put them in the closet because they're gay. It's kind of a gay joke. But yeah, so like she gets kidnapped, and literally the last line is literally like, they took her, and then it cuts off. There's no epilogue, there's no ending. That's it. That's literally it. And it's like the torture scene in the beginning of the book, by the way, it was implied that this happened sometime during the book, and then we were setting up for it to happen, and it was never touched upon ever again. So I'm sitting there like really confused, not sure where anything fits in. And this is the first book in the series, and there's no other books out. And I've looked into this author. She has no other books published, And so I'm sitting here like reeling, dissociating really bad because like I'm trying to process what happened, and like I was so angry. I was so angry. I sat down and read this book all in one sitting. I was so angry. And obviously I'm still feeling emotions about it. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks. And like I hated it so much. I loved it and I hated it so much. But I need the next one. Because I need to know where this goes. I really need to know where this goes. I really do. And like, yeah. So, and I scored it pretty low when I wrote my review for it, just because I was so in shock. I would probably go back and change it from a 1 star to maybe a 3 star, because like I hate it, but I hate it so much that I love it. And at the time I was just reeling and hated it. So, yeah, that was the book I read. Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. You can probably find it somewhere else. I don't know where else to look right now for it, but like, it's called Inked Caffeine, Melrose and Vine. That's the intersection of the streets they're on. I'm pretty sure that was intentional. But yeah, I actually do recommend reading it if you want like a wild ride. But if you want something calm and cute, like a coffee AU, it's great until the last 20 pages, and then it's a full 360. If I had known it was going to be a complete genre change in the last 20 pages, I would have been more prepared for that, but I wasn't prepared. So that's why I'm like so shocked and stuff. So yeah, stay safe, danger noodles. I'm gonna be reading more books, but like I had to share this one with you because like it took me by the throat. I haven't stopped thinking about it for like 2 weeks. So love you guys. Stay safe.